Idiots with Internet. I'm your host, Blake.
I'm Chris, and for the last episode, there's no Sam Cam. For our fantasy football specials, which is going on right now, there will be no Sam Cam. So, we're going to talk more about fantasy football today. You guys seem to have really enjoyed our last fantasy football episode. Smash the like button. Good job, guys. And here we go. Blake, who are some
Well, this
players?
week for this week in fantasy for pickups, I would suggest watching how the Patriots have been playing the past couple weeks. Rex Burkhead is easily a starter. Not really. He could be a running back 2 or
Probably
flex
flex,
option
yeah.
at this point. He's almost like past 3 games averaging over 15 points. He's the guy in the Patriots who are scoring the touchdowns.
Yes.
And you can also pick up Damian Harris. He's a little more risky because he's getting a lot of yards. For example, last week versus the Ravens, 121 yards but no touchdowns. But Rex Burkhead definitely.
Yep. And another guy you guys should consider just for this week, even with having Matt Breida on the squad, he was hurt last week. Salvon Ahmed. He is the running back for the Dolphins next week. He will be their workhorse next week. He will be their guy. Myles Gaskins comes back week 12, so you get one good week of his solid production from him. He's probably RB2 the way that they'll use him. 85 rushing yards on 21 carries last time. They also got Jordan Howard. They dropped him. He's on waivers in the actual NFL. And that's another guy. Another guy you guys should consider is Kalen Ballage.
Something like that.
The running back for the Chargers. With Justin Jackson on IR, he's definitely a guy you should really, really consider because he's going to be their number one guy.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen Joshua Kelly not too much.
Yes. And we're talking about people who the bench maybe. A big question that's been going on in fantasy is about the Bucs wide receivers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receivers, it's very difficult because there's so many great talent on that team. And if I were any of you guys, I would not consider any of the Bucs wide receivers a wide receiver 1 or a wide receiver 2 at this point just because they're way too risky. And for example, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, start them as a flex because there'll be a game, for example, when Evans goes off but Godwin puts up like 2 points. Or it's possible without many weapons, especially with Antonio Brown coming back.
Yep.
And way too risky.
Yep. Another guy you guys should, if he's still on waivers, is he's got a 41.8% rate of being picked up in ESPN Fantasy Football Leagues, is Nyheim Hines. He's looked fantastic the last couple weeks. He looked great against, he looked fantastic against the Titans.
Yes, played amazing.
You guys should really, really highly consider picking him up. He's been their best, if not one of the best offensive weapons for the Colts.
And if you have Jonathan Taylor, it's a little risky starting him now with Hines playing so well as he is.
And with Drew Brees out for probably the foreseeable future, a guy you really guys should consider picking up is Jameis Winston. Yes, he had the interception problems with Tampa, but I'm sure with his LASIK surgery, he's probably fixed that a little bit. He's got a guy like Alvin Kamara now who he can dump the ball off to instead of throwing the ball 50-50 balls to Godwin and Mike Evans like he was doing all the time. That will help him out a lot. Really, really should consider picking him up. Another guy we talked about in our other episode is Wayne Gallman. He's looked like an RB2.
At this point, Wayne Gallman is basically an RB2.
He's an RB2. The production he's put up has been fantastic. You guys should really, really consider picking him up. Put up a good amount of points last week. I think it was 19 points last week. And he put up like 16 the week before. Really, really consider picking him up. He looks really good, guys. And the Giants are making a push in that shit show of an NFC East division.
Absolutely.
Cole Beasley, another guy. He's just been a flat-out star. Lately.
He's been Josh Allen's safe target because you see Diggs. Diggs is playing out of his mind no matter what. If you have Diggs, start him. But Cole Beasley is another guy you can put as wide receiver 2 or flex because he's average. I don't know what he's averaging, but I know he's averaging a good amount of points, over in the double digits still, and he's reliable. For example, last week he had a really good game last week.
Yep.
Yeah, I know he had a touchdown, but Cole Beasley a great pickup.
A tight end pickup for you guys. 2 of them, Eric Ebron and Logan Thomas. Ebron has been a Big Ben dump off, rough week last week, but he's been putting up the production. And another guy, Logan Thomas. You guys probably don't know about him. Logan Thomas has been the tight end for the Washington football team, and Alex Smith has actually spread the ball out pretty good with McLaurin and Thomas. So you guys should really consider picking up Logan Thomas if you got an empty tight end spot. That is it for waiver pickups. Blake, who are some players you should trade for a lot of fantasy deadlines coming down soon?
So there's a lot of people's deadlines are coming up, and there's a lot of players that you can get rid of or trade away and get. For example, a guy you should be trying to look for is Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is back, and last week versus the Giants, he played he's a very unstoppable running back.
It was cool. He had 13.5 points, but the third and second string running back were able to get touchdowns.
Yes.
And I think this is call it an outlier, and I don't think we're gonna see this happening again.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of fantasy owners are gonna be putting up Miles Sanders for a ton of value in that sense. So it should be a great pickup.
Yeah. Another guy who you guys should tread away actually is James Robinson.
Yes.
He's been the number 3 running back according to ESPN so far this year in fantasy football. Trade him away. His playoff schedule is really, really tough. Get some value for him. Get some good playoff value for him. And if your team is pretty much deadlocked on the playoffs, really, you should go out and get him.
And that's a good suggestion for you, everyone, fantasy football wise. Start to look at your playoffs. Don't look at this next week or this other week. Start to look ahead if you're going to make the playoffs.
Look ahead.
Yeah, because guys, for example, James Robinson, his playoff schedule is very, very tough when it comes to fantasy football.
Yeah.
So, instant drop. Another guy, with Drew Brees being out for a couple weeks, I would say maybe trying to trade away Michael Thomas because even last week when Drew Brees was there, he played terrible. I think he had 4 points, something like that. And he's not the same Michael Thomas was last year, and not reliable. For example, Alvin Kamara is their number 1 guy, and especially with Winston, Winston's not going to want to throw it deep. Mainly ball's going to be going to Alvin Kamara with Drew Brees being out, the safety route, and Michael Thomas should be 100% be a guy you should be looking to trade away.
One more guy you should trade away is Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown has just been rough. Ravens fans have been hating on him a lot. Trade Marquise Brown away, please.
If anything, you could possibly drop him to waiver at this point.
Yeah. Calvin Ridley. Trade for him.
Mm-hmm. He's back.
He's back. Fantasy owners are probably like, oh no, he's projected 14 points only. Trade for him. Please do yourself a favor. They're playing the Saints next week. Rough matchup, but he will be good.
Mm-hmm. We got to remember when Calvin Ridley, for a while, he was the number 1 fantasy wide receiver in the league.
Yep.
Julio Jones wasn't playing that well, and I think it's going to go back to that. Yeah, Matt Ryan may spread the ball out a little bit, but I do see Calvin Ridley going back to be the number 1 wide receiver as he was earlier this season.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're going to talk about today on the fantasy episode. Keep you guys nice, short, and sweet. That is our fantasy information this week. I hope you guys enjoyed. Get those players. Good luck on this week in fantasy, and we really hope you guys win. We appreciate you guys very much. Thank you.